Hello everybody and welcome to the first game that I'm going to be putting up, or the first set of games that I'm going to be putting up on YouTube since the release of Starcraft 2, which most of you, if not all of you, probably know, was on July 27th. So, in this video, what I'm going to want to do is show you what I think is probably the coolest unit that the Zerg has, the Baneling. And what I'm going to try and do and try and fit in is have 3 games, one against Zerg, one against Terran, and one against Protoss, all of which I use the Baneling in order to win rather early on in all of these games. So here I am the red Zerg on the bottom, and first I will be playing against Zerg, and he is blue Hela on top. And the reason the Baneling is so good is you can get it very early on. It is a tier 1 unit, and it does 35 damage with huge splash against light units. And all of the first units that all the races have, Zealots, Marines, and Zerglings, are all light. What this means is the Baneling can one-shot Zerglings, and they can take out 5 or 6 at least with a single Baneling. And they also do a lot of damage to Zealots as well as Marines, still 2-shot Marines. And what they can do really well is if a Protoss player or a Terran player is walling off their base, they also do 80 damage to buildings, which often referred to as a baneling bust, is very good at getting into these sort of turtling players. But first, I'm not going to do a baneling bust per se. I'm going to be using these banelings to destroy my opponent's early army of zerglings. By using just a few banelings, I can destroy so many more zerglings and give me such an edge in the early combat that I can effectively win the game right there. As you can see on the unit count, he has 16 Zerglings and I have 14, and I do have the speed upgrade. I got my gas right after I got the spawning pool, and I'm running them over to his base. My Baneling nest is done, and I'll go back to normal speed. So with all these Zerglings, it is a much larger force than me. He has 24 to my 20, and I'm going to come up, and I see that they're really too much for me to deal with, so I back away. And then I do have 250 gas, quite a bit, so I'm going to sit here, morph in, how many? 7 or 8 banelings, 7 banelings, and then wait for him to move out. Now he does have roaches, and if you're going to go banelings, you have to watch out, because roaches are very good. They are not light, and they have a lot of health, making banelings effectively useless. But here he comes. He is coming in, all his zerglings out front, and as you can see, look at them explode. They just completely die away to all of my banelings, and then I can use my zerglings to finish off these roaches. And the other player realizes there's nothing left that he can do, and he GG's pretty much as soon as I walk into his base. So the Baneling against Zerg is just very, very effective against their early Zergling unit. So I just showed you a game where I used Banelings very effectively against a Zerg player, and now I'm going to show you what Banelings can do against a Protoss player. This is the map Lost Temple, and he is at the top and I am on the right. His B-ball is playing blue Protoss while I am the red Zerg. A little bit of friendly banter before the game gets into motion. And what I'm going to do is I get my spawning pool at 13, and then gas at right after the spawning pool is done, which will allow me to get enough gas to get metabolic boost not long after the spawning pool has been finished, and then a baneling nest, which is obviously pretty integral to this build. And again, so why the banelings are so important is if he does something like this and tries to wall off his front base, you're going to need something to break in, and one of the easiest ways is to use banelings, and you're going to see that in this game, and how that is a good strategy. So right off the bat, I have my spawning pool done. I am getting out my queen as well as my first zerglings, and I do notice that he has 2 gateways, so I built a spine crawler for defense just in case he was trying to do any very, very early zealot aggression. But look, this is why banelings can be so good. A common strategy is to use zealots in hold position to block off their ramp so that your zerglings cannot run by. But the banelings, dealing 35 damage to a zealot, 3 or 4 of them, 4 of them actually, 4 or 5, sorry, can easily take out the zealot and allow all of your zerglings to run up into their ramp. So my baneling's nest is almost finished, and If you look in the production tab, you see that I have 8 zerglings on the way, as well as many moving towards his base. I do have this overlord here, so I see that he has 4 gateways coming in, and a 4-gate early aggression can be very good, so I have to try to get up into his base as fast as possible. And right away I'm morphing in all of these banelings that will be more than enough to take out this early zealots and rush into his base with my zerglings. So here I am. I now have 6 banelings as well as 14 zerglings, and I'm moving up right away. This is at 5 minutes and 40 seconds, as you can see. And I completely destroy all of his zealots that were sitting there. I overrun his stalker, and he says GG right away now that I'm in his base with all of my zerglings. Finally, I'm going to show you a Zerg vs Terran game in which I use banelings in order to destroy him and win the game rather early on. So again, the banelings are not only good at destroying the zealots and killing the zealots that are walling in their base, they are also very good at blowing up supply depots. As you will see on a baneling, they deal 80 damage to buildings. They deal extra damage to buildings, and a supply depot only has 350 life. Which means that if you have 5 banelings, you can easily burst right through a supply depot and run into their base. And not to mention, baneling will deal large splash damage, so it will also deal damage to, say, the nearby barracks. So in this game, again, I'm going to get my spawning pool, get my gas right after, and then put 3 into the extractor so that I will be able to get metabolic boost, and then a baneling's nest, and then a couple banelings, hopefully around the 5 or 5.5 minute mark. This game obnoxiously puts down a refinery here, but I don't care too much since this build does not require me to get second gas, unless the initial baneling bust doesn't work. So here I am, I see his base, and it is completely walled off, which means a couple banelings into the supply depot will be more than enough to get in. Now I have my first zerglings on the way. They will come, and I have rallied them right out to the natural expansion zone for the enemy, where I can sit them there and then wait to attack. Now on the unit tab, you can see I have 14 zerglings, and my baneling's nest is just about to be finished. There it goes, it pops up, and now I have 16 zerglings on the field. And some of them, here we go, morphing into banelings, and it does not take very long for them to morph. And he cannot see that I have these zerglings over here, so he's unprepared. He is trying to get a bunker, but it will not be enough, as all of my banelings are ready. Right here, they do 80 damage to a structure, and I'm going to run them right into this supply depot. It blows up, and then I run in with a couple extra banelings and all of my zerglings, and completely destroy his army, and are right now attacking all of his structures. Of course, going for the SCVs is a great way to deal big damage early on. And the game doesn't end for a couple more minutes. That's just because he lifts off all his building and run away. But you understand, I essentially have this game in the bag. So thank you for watching. This was a sort of a unit spotlight on the baneling, and I hope you learned something and enjoyed it. Thank you.